Okay, so now that we've gone over what the graphic organizer for Great Expectations looks like, I'm going to quickly go over what it is that the introductory paragraph should look like. So for your introductory sentences, you're going to want to start off with like a broad lead into the title, the author of the literary work. You want to assume that the reader has no idea what it is that you're talking about. And for my purposes here, I'm going to use Into the Wild instead of Great Expectations because then otherwise I'll see 80 essays that look just like my example. So for Into the Wild, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the author. I'm going to tell you a brief little history about the background information of the main person that they're talking about because this is a nonfiction text. It's Chris McCandless, or Alexander Supertramp as he renames himself. I'm going to give you my thesis statement, and this is really going to be the central focus of my entire essay. And so my whole focus is that Krakauer wants the readers to determine whether Alexander Supertramp or Chris McCandless was truly out to end his own life or to build a life on his own terms. And one of the things that I'm going to think about in each of my CQT paragraphs or stages is his hubris, his ability to set aside his pride to be able to know something or to learn something and not assuming that he already does know it. And so for my example, for stage one is he is rather light in his gear when he goes out into the Alaska wild. And so I have my topic sentence, and that's what I'm going to talk about here, my first body CQT. And here's my topic sentence. Alex wanted to go into the wild so badly that he was not as prepared for it as he should have been, foreshadowing his death or possible starvation. So my two CQTs are going to really focus. One will focus on foreshadowing his death, and the other will be his possible starvation. So that takes me to my first body CQT. So what I like to do is I find my quote first, then I go back and fill my context in, and then it's a little bit easier for my tie-in and my transition. So I found my quote, and I'm going to quote it the way that I asked you guys to quote Great Expectations, which is chapter and then page number. So here's my quote here. Alex's backpack looked as though it weighed only 25 or 30 pounds, which struck Galen, an accomplished hunter and woodsman, as an improbably light load for a stay of several months in the back country, especially so early in the spring. Notice with my MLA formatting here that I have my quotation marks here. This is not dialogue. Galen is not saying this aloud. This is his own musings. It's not in dialogue format, so I don't need to use double quote, single quote. Excuse me. And then I don't have ending punctuation here, but I do after my parentheses. So now I have my quote. I go back in and I fill my context. What's going on with this in this point in the story? I give you some background information. Then I go to my tie-in, and I want to focus on how Galen is being used by Krakauer, who is the author, to help prove this point that perhaps going in with such a light pack will actually foreshadow death. Excuse me. And then my transition sentence is that he has little supplies, is pointed out by Galen, kind of reading into the next paragraph saying perhaps he doesn't know how he's going to feed himself. And that's really what that looks like. And then when it's completed, it actually looks like this. So this little paragraph here is my introductory paragraph, and this becomes my first body CQT. Okay?